My name's Scott Lazer. I'm a filmmaker and creative director, and I live in Fort Greene, Brooklyn, where we are now. This is Fort Greene Park. I remember my senior year of high school, I was in an English class, and I was paired with a classmate for a group project, and we started talking about what we were going to do post-high school, and he told me he was going to film school. I don't think I really knew that film school was a thing that people did, and so I was like, oh, that's cool, you make films. Well, maybe we can make something before we go to college. And so we did. We made a little comedy web series called The Birds, and yeah, I just really enjoyed the process. So when I got to college, even though there wasn't a film program there, I met people that were interested in film, and the English department had some film courses. I had some mentors that kind of pushed me in the direction of pursuing filmmaking as a career. And then after school, I just kind of kept doing it, built up more clients, kept making things on my downtime. In 2014, I moved out to California. I moved to LA, started working with some people out there. That's where I met J. Cole. We started working together. Started seeing my current partner, who lives here in New York, and we were dating for a year, long distance, while I was still in LA. And after a year, I just was like, you know what? I think I'm ready to move to New York. We actually took over the apartment of our mutual friend who introduced us. This is Bittersweet Coffee Shop, Black-owned coffee shop, and I'm gonna get a little cappuccino. This neighborhood's great for just walking around, so that's what we're gonna do a little of. Hi. Oat milk cappuccino, please. Small. Scott. My work is so varied, with everything from music videos to concert stage direction to short films to long form to documentaries to design and writing. So my work kind of takes on many different forms. And I get excited every time there's a new thing to work on. It's problem solving in a lot of ways. Just really sinking into a project and examining it from all angles and realizing it to the end. Right now I'm, I just recently signed to a commercial production company called Pomp and Clout, where, who I've done a lot of work with in the past, and we're pitching on a bunch of both original content and branded content, commercial advertising. There's some things I don't like about Fort Greene, namely buildings like this. Look at all those. Yuck. They're just ugly, and they're not built to last. So this clock tower, for a long time, was the highest point in downtown Brooklyn. It was the lone skyscraper. And within the last, I'd say, it seems 10, 15, maybe 20 years, there's all this garbage on the skyline. Pretty much since I graduated college, a lot of my work has been commission work for hire, things that other people want me to do for them. And it had been a while since I'd made something for myself. So last year, I made a concerted effort to do more of that, and I made 3 short films that I financed myself. I invited my friends and most talented collaborators. I tend to be drawn to people and art that is different from what you normally see. For better or for worse, I mentioned John Wilson and his show on HBO, which is unlike anything I've ever seen before. I May Destroy You, Michaela Cole's show, also just nothing like that on television. in cinema, like I'm a big Abbas Kiarostami fan, the late Iranian filmmaker, and I mean, you know, he makes movies that no one else can make, and some of them are incredible, some of them suck, but they are all uniquely his, and I respect that a lot. So this is kind of cool. I actually just discovered this recently. I went to Rutgers, and Paul Robeson is one of our esteemed alumni from way back in the day, obviously. And I was on my bike recently, and I rode by this, and thought it was pretty cool that the Paul Robeson Theater is basically a couple blocks away from where I live. He's a football player at Rutgers, and I believe the valedictorian. Just a really interesting guy. I didn't go to film school. I studied journalism and like film. There was a film studies program in the English department at Rutgers where I was in school. And so we were doing a lot of reading and watching and writing about cinema. And I'm really grateful for that because it's never really been about the technology for me, even though I utilize technology in a lot of my work and like everybody else. I'd like to think of myself as more of a conceptual artist. So it's like you have the idea and whatever means you need to get there is how you get there. But a film I put out earlier this year called Visitors, I shot with my friend Taylor, cinematographer, and you know, I had a microphone, he had a camera. We went out to the desert during the Storm Area 51 thing, whatever that was, and we just did it. You know, it was just kind of like raw, creative, and I like that. I like it. I like having big, you know, input and crews and like, you know, that real polished kind of project too. I don't know. There's just something really exciting about like grabbing whatever you can and just like making stuff. This is Dick and Jane's, fantastic bar. They make great cocktails. Very cozy. This is where there's so many great restaurants in Fort Greene, and this is kind of a main drag of many of the good ones. So like Masada's is here, Roman's, Colonia Verde, Amani is right here. This is like this stretch on DeKalb that's just like excellent food. I am typically, granted, I like to do nothing, but I'm generally a pretty ambitious person. And the first couple months were a struggle because I couldn't do anything really. And like many other people, I felt like I had to be productive, like use this time wisely and like come out of the pandemic with a feature-length screenplay. And I started to go through that. I was like writing a lot, I was sketching. I think at some point, maybe like 2 months into lockdown, that I don't know if I should call it lockdown, but like 2 months into COVID, whatever we're calling this, I kind of hit a wall and the reality set in that this was going to be lasting a long time, and I just kind of like resigned to it and let it happen. This is Greenlight Bookstore, local bookstore here in Fort Greene. They have another location in Prospect Lefferts Gardens. I come here relatively often. I wish I came more, in that I wish I was a faster reader. I just finished Annihilation, which is a sci-fi trilogy. I only read the first one. This is BAM, Brooklyn Academy of Music. This is the Academy. This is where the best art, music, film, dance, theater comes. I'm a member here. Haven't been since March. The doors have been closed since the pandemic, which is super sad. They've been doing virtual programming online, and it's been good. Obviously doesn't replace the experience, of being here. Right before we locked down in New York in March, I saw Medea here with Bobby Cannavale and his wife Rose Byrne. It was incredible. Some of the best theater I've ever seen. I love this place, and it really breaks my heart to walk by here every time I do now and see these doors closed like this. But hopefully one day they'll be open again. Especially now when we have to be indoors all the time, walking is a blessing. It's like a privilege to go on a nice walk. I like to listen to the sounds in the neighborhood too, so like sometimes I'll jam on some headphones and sometimes I'll just kind of like walk around. I love walking in New York and always have. It's really the only place that I know that you could probably walk forever and constantly be finding new things. Here in Fort Greene, where I've lived the last few years, you know, I feel like I know a lot of the neighborhood. Nice to have that familiarity, but New York is just like endless discovery.